And we're back with Tim Donner, Senior Political Analyst for Liberty Nation News. I remain your host, Michelle White. Let's talk about Cuba too, because you've written an article, we've both written an article, and I mentioned yours in mine about how Trump has been focused on Iran, but he has not forgotten Cuba. And he even mentioned it on Friday. He's kind of said the same thing over and over that, oh, we'll stop by Cuba on the way back from Iran. What do you think of his statements, his recent statements bringing that up?
It looks totally reasonable to say, hey, I'm dealing with a war halfway across the world, committing troops and equipment, war. I'm on a war footing. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I don't want to divert my attention because Cuba's not going to rise up again. Communism is not going to be restarted anytime in Cuba. The trifecta that I was sort of formulating in that article you referenced is taking down Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, and thereby also weakening China and Russia. Sort of taking care of all the bad actors with one major move in Venezuela and two major moves, of course, in Iran. But of course, the collateral damage is Cuba, because Cuba is almost entirely dependent on Venezuela for all of its energy needs. It has very limited capacity to generate its own energy. It's about 15 or 20% of what they need. They can generate. The rest they have to get from Venezuela, which they no longer can. Right. So effectively, Cuba is in a death spiral. Communism is dead on the island. And I think what Trump's going to do is basically offer them a heaping helping of good old-fashioned capitalism, the repatriation of those who fled the island decades ago in most cases, or many cases. And I think the president felt that Marco Rubio didn't have enough jobs already as Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, de facto governor of Venezuela. So he's also made Rubio the point man in relations with the Cuban government. I think there's a good contrast here, Michelle. In Iran, they don't understand that they cannot survive. That regime cannot survive in any way, shape, or form similar to what it was before, but they refuse to admit it. Right. Okay. In Cuba, you're getting the sense that they know the jig is up, that there's nothing they can do, that they're going to be dependent on outside influences, mostly the United States, to help rebuild the beautiful island nation that the Castro brothers have destroyed over the last 60 years.
Speaking of Castro brothers, Raul made an unusual appearance on Friday on the May Day parade or May Day demonstration. What do you think that meant? That some indication
he's trying to send a message, I think, that he's alive and kicking. You know, He's not going anywhere. He's trying to probably present some semblance of stability in a country that's been basically in misery for decades on end with no relief in sight. It's now worse than ever because they don't have the Soviet Union to support them anymore. That went away 30 years ago. And now they don't have Venezuela. They don't have Nicolas Maduro to supply them with their energy needs in return for Cuba providing the muscle for secret police operations in Venezuela. So that whole pact is dead. And so Cuba is on the ropes. But unlike Iran, I sense that this one will be far easier to try and settle.
Well, you're not dealing with an Islamist religion thrown in there as well. So you do communism without religion. But I mean, do you think that was a show of obstinance or defiance by having him come out?
It could have been, in a sense, a farewell message, if you think about it, because effectively he's turned over power, de facto anyway, or on paper, I should say. But many, if not most, believe he's still calling the shots behind the scenes, just like they thought that Fidel was when Raul basically took the reins from him before Fidel died.
Hmm.
So no, I think the handwriting is on the wall in Cuba. That's going to be relatively simple because they
Right.
don't have any way to resist,
Right.
and they have no real military capabilities, and they cannot rebuild their economy. They need U.S. help, and pretty soon I think they're going to get it, and I think you're going to see free markets starting to emerge in Cuba finally.
Hmm. That president said it was going to be a new day for Cuba. So, what will that look like for the U.S.?
Well, it'll provide a lot of competition for resorts in the United States because they have beautiful shoreline in
Yes.
Cuba. It will also, it could be a new era of relative cooperation and trade. I
Hmm.
think what Trump wants to do, like he does with everybody, because he's a businessman above all
Right.
else, he wants a
He wants a
trade
trade partner.
relationship. He
Yeah.
wants a trade relationship with Cuba. And Cuba does have some natural resources. I think within the next year or so, we're going to be some serious movement in Cuba, and that you're going to get more cooperation from the communists running the country in Havana than we might have thought.
Do you think there had to be some strategy between the order in which he did this, taking out Maduro, developing a relationship with Delcy Rodriguez, then hitting Iran, and then coming back to get Cuba? What was
I
this?
think there was. I think that's a very good question. And I
What
think
was?
the answer is, in my opinion, yes, because Venezuela was the easiest to take out.
Hmm.
And not that the raid that captured Maduro was any kind of slam dunk. It was remarkable that they were
Yeah, that was,
able to,
and to not lose any American lives.
not a single American
That was
life. And
not easy. I
they
don't know.
got him right out of there and
Right.
immediately identified Delcy Rodriguez as someone who was willing to play ball. But they also knew that by doing Venezuela first, they accomplished a couple of other things. First, they cut the lifeline off to Cuba,
Hmm.
which allowed for the hope that finally the communists who've been running Cuba could be brought to heel after
Hmm.
decades in power.
Hmm.
And it sent a message to Iran about the willingness of this president to take audacious action
Yeah.
in support of his goals. And the
Hmm.
people that say Trump hasn't provided any reason for why he's doing this, he's been saying this since the 1980s. And
Hmm.
so has every other American president that knew that this regime had to be taken down. So,
Right.
Trump sent that as a shot across the bow, basically saying if you don't heal to the the fanatics running Iran, you're
Hmm.
going to be next. And indeed, they were.
Tim Donner, thank you so much. You're always a wealth of information. I appreciate you joining us today.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks, Michelle.
And that's all we have time for today on Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'd like to thank our guest today, Mark Angelides, regular host of this show and editor in chief for Liberty Nation News, and Tim Donner, senior political analyst for Liberty Nation News. And I'd like to thank you, our audience, for tuning in today. I've been your host, Michelle White. Please remember, Liberty Nation Radio does not endorse candidates, campaigns, or legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement.